And ultimately, the data that they're collecting, some of those results, summaries of the results, some of the data are being stored in one or more systems across the organization. Not surprisingly, perhaps a majority of organizations are using things like Microsoft applications and instrument vendor software to touch data. A third of the people who are surveyed are using in-house developed software for these purposes. And then a smaller percentage, and I guess, but Nicola and Mark, you may have some thoughts on that, are using ELN and LIMS to store some of their data, depending on obviously where they are in the organization and what their activities are.
Yeah, I guess for me, one of the points that really hits home is the slide before, the data heterogeneity and the different types of techniques. I mean, at our global R&I centers within Solvay, I mean, not only do we have a whole plethora of techniques to be able to serve our customers, but even within the techniques, you go into a specific lab and you will see a handful of, even if you pick a technique, gas chromatography, if it's a new lab that was just built within the last few years, it's nice and homogenized, it's the same vendor, it's the same software, but not everything is new. And if you go in these existing labs, you have legacy equipment running either from different vendors or even from the same vendor, different software platforms. And not only does this make this more difficult for the lab to run itself, because your people in the lab must learn how to maintain, run, and operate all these different GCs. So it's not really one GC, it's 4 different GCs with 7 different software platforms. So from a scientist, it makes it challenging, but then putting on my, I guess, data hat, when you want to come ingest the data and process the data, all vendors tend to do something slightly different just because that's what they've been doing over the years. And a chromatogram, I mean, to me as a scientist, a chromatogram is a chromatogram, but to me as a data guy, a chromatogram from 7 different vendors is 7 different techniques. The outputs are different, the columns are different, the headers are different, just everything is different. So it makes things much more challenging and, I guess, difficult, to put it bluntly.
Yeah, I'd say that definitely resonates with me as well. I think, you know, we consistently need to use at least 2 different types of data to characterize and confirm, you know, our structures and purities, make the desired requirements for testing. I guess coming from more of an NMR background, it's less challenging in that area than compared to things like LCMS. But yeah, I think I'd agree with you, Mark. There's some merit in trying to consolidate into using, you know, fewer vendor platforms. But, you know, something we're definitely experiencing in pharma as we're looking to, you know, drug more and more challenging targets is molecular complexity is increasing vastly. So, you know, often we want to be able to choose the instrument that's the best tool for addressing our analytical needs. So sometimes you need a little heterogeneity in there.
That's a great point.